Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Sam, and joining me today for this deep dive is the insightful Taylor.
It's great to be here, Sam, and I'm really excited to explore this incredible chapter of history with all of you.
Absolutely, because when we typically think of vast maritime empires, our minds often jump straight to the Europeans, right? The Portuguese, the Spanish, the Dutch, Vasco da Gama, maybe Magellan. But what if I told you that centuries before their age of exploration, an Indian ruler named Rajendra Chola built this huge maritime empire, one that stretched across the Indian Ocean and basically dominated Southeast Asian trade routes for ages?
And that's the core of what we're diving into today. What's truly remarkable, I think, is that this wasn't just about having a powerful navy. It was a revolutionary approach, really, by an 11th century ruler. He completely redefined how an empire could project influence, power across these immense oceanic distances. It's a genuinely overlooked chapter in global history, but so significant.
So for this deep dive, our mission is to unpack exactly how Rajendra Chola's, innovative naval tech gave his fleet such dominance, and how his administration managed territories separated by thousands of miles of ocean. Plus, the lasting legacy of this ancient maritime empire that really shaped global commerce. By the end, you'll see why his approach wasn't just ancient history. It was like a blueprint, really, that reshaped power dynamics for centuries. Okay, so to understand Rajendra Chola's empire, we have to start at the beginning, with the foundations. He wasn't just lucky. He strategically, almost surgically, leveraged the natural gifts of the Coromandel Coast. I mean, we're talking over 900 kilometers of coastline, dotted with natural deep harbors like Nagapattinam, Kavaripattinam, Mamallapuram. Plus, you've got access to teak forests for shipbuilding, iron ore for weapons. It sounds almost tailor-made, doesn't it?
It really was a geographical blessing, yeah. And the strategic advantage of that coast. It put the Chola kingdom right at the crossroads of Indian Ocean commerce. But it wasn't just passive geography. They actively used it. Think about the monsoon patterns. They understood them perfectly, exploited them,
Yeah.
allowed for predictable eastward voyages one season, westward the next. It was like nature's express lane.
Wow, okay.
Reduced travel times dramatically. And you can't forget the fertile Kaveri Delta. That provided the food surplus needed to feed and support these massive naval operations. Even the river system it served as a training ground for sailors. And the coastal communities. Generations of maritime skills just passed down a ready pool of experienced people.
So they had this amazing natural setup and this deep maritime culture. But geography alone doesn't build an empire, right? Someone had to lay the groundwork. And that brings us to Rajendra's father, Rajaraja Chola seized. He basically forged the whole idea of an organized royal navy. That sounds like a massive undertaking. What did that organization actually look like?
Yeah, you've hit on a critical point. It wasn't just having ships, it was having a system. Rajaraja's reforms were comprehensive. He established what you might call the world's first professional royal navy. Specialized divisions trained Marines for ship-to-ship combat, engineers developing siege tech for coasts.
Right.
His early campaigns, like in Sri Lanka and the Maldives, gave them invaluable experience in amphibious warfare, basically perfecting how to coordinate land and sea attacks. And under him, they innovated with things like fire arrows, improved ship designs for maneuverability. They even had a naval intelligence network, tracking merchant ships, potential threats. Pretty sophisticated stuff.
Okay, so Rajendra inherits this really formidable naval machine. But it wasn't just military power driving their expansion, was it? It sounds like he really understood partnership, too. Forging alliances with Arab merchants who dominated the Western Indian Ocean routes, and then the Tamil merchant guilds, Ayavol, Managram. They had trading posts from Socotra all the way to Sumatra. These guilds were incredible, weren't they? More than just traders.
Oh, far more. They were diplomats, intelligence gatherers, cultural links, smoothing the path for Chola influence. This fostered an empire built on mutual benefit, not just pure conquest. The Cholas offered protection to foreign merchants, Chinese traders, Southeast Asian kingdoms in exchange for tribute and, crucially, information. It was this pioneering naval commercial integration, military power serving economic goals. Even local fishing communities, pearl divers, they played a part. Reconnaissance, underwater repairs, that sort of thing.
All these grand strategies need the right tools. And the Chola shipbuilders, wow, their engineering sounds next level.
Absolutely. Their skill is just astonishing for the time. They were meticulous about materials, specific timbers for specific jobs, teak for the hull, bamboo for flexibility, ironwood for durability against salt water. But the real genius, I think, was their joining techniques. Wooden dowels, strong coconut fiber ropes, natural resins.
And here's the kicker, right? In many areas, no metal nails, which wasn't just a quirk.
Not at all. It meant less corrosion from salt water, obviously, but it also gave the ships this crucial flexibility.
Flexibility, how so?
Well, it made them lighter, more resilient, better able to handle the rough, unpredictable Indian Ocean compared to more rigid European designs later on. Archaeological evidence suggests some warships were over 200 feet long, multiple decks, reinforced sections for ramming.
700 feet.
Yeah, imagine seeing that fleet. It speaks volumes about their naval architecture.
It's incredible. But, okay, huge ships, great construction. How did they actually navigate these vast distances so accurately back in the 11th century? No GPS, obviously.
Right, you wonder how they did it. They had detailed star charts, this profound, almost intuitive grasp of the monsoon patterns. And they developed what was really the world's first systematic approach to deep-sea navigation, combining celestial observation, wind pattern recognition, mapping ocean currents. They even had instruments. Magnetic compasses adapted for tropical conditions. Think about that, 11th century. Water-resistant astronomical devices, too.
Wow.
And they built a network of coastal lighthouses and navigation markers across the Indian Ocean. A real maritime infrastructure, way ahead of its time.
And the admirals weren't just relying on sturdy ships either. They were strategic thinkers, pioneering tactics like the crescent formation to surround enemy fleets, kind of boxing them in, and focusing on speed and maneuverability, letting lighter, faster ships outflank heavier ones, hit them from unexpected angles.
Their adaptability was key. They didn't have just one type of ship. They had specialized designs. Fast scouts for intel, heavy assault ships to break lines, support ships for ammo, water, even repairs during battles.
A whole system.
Exactly. A well-oiled machine. Designed for dominance through combined arms, really centuries before people formally talked about that concept elsewhere.
And beyond the ships and tactics, they had, well, a secret weapon, didn't they? Something terrifying. Fire on water.
Ah, yes, the Chola fire. It was indeed a terrifying innovation. They adapted Byzantine Greek fire tech, but made it their own. Developed unique formulas using local stuff. Coconut oil, sulfur from volcanic areas, special tree resins.
So it wasn't just one thing.
No, the variety was remarkable. Handheld projectiles, catapult ammo, even ship-mounted flamethrowers. Imagine the psychological impact. Seeing your ship just consumed by flames you couldn't put out. In the middle of the ocean.
Nightmare fuel.
Absolutely. Enemy sailors often just surrendered rather than face it. The reputation of the weapon was almost as potent as the weapon itself.
Okay, so with all this tech and strategy, Rajendra's expansion wasn't just random conquest. It looks like a masterclass in controlling chokeholds. Like the Maldives not just conquered, but turned into a key naval base, a refueling stop, controlling the gateway between the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, then taking key ports in Sri Lanka, like Polonnaruwa. The whole island sits like a giant toll booth on those Indian Ocean roads.
Right. And stepping back, the big picture strategy was about controlling the vital arteries of trade. Dominance over the Strait of Malacca, that was the real prize. That narrow waterway was, and still is, absolutely essential for east-west trade.
The main highway.
Pretty much. We even have Chinese records from the time mentioning they had to pay tribute to these powerful Tamil kings just for safe passage. So it wasn't just taxing, it was like providing protection services for valuable cargo, securing their own revenue. They also secured key ports in Sumatra, the Malay Peninsula, Palembang, Jambi, Kedah, often using puppet kings, setting up Tamil trading posts to maintain influence without direct, costly occupation.
So what did all this control mean for their economy? They weren't just warriors, they sound like sophisticated economic architects.
That's a crucial connection. It wasn't just conquest, it was about sustained economic gain. They effectively monopolized crucial spice routes to Europe and China. They were the gatekeepers for things like black pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, highly prized stuff. Royal merchants, backed by imperial power, negotiated exclusive deals, kind of like vertical integration, maximizing profits all along the chain.
But how did they make it sustainable?
Good question. They ran what you could call the world's first systematic maritime taxation system. Every merchant ship in their waters paid a toll, calculated based on cargo, destination. This created this self-reinforcing cycle. More taxes funded bigger fleets secured more trade routes, more routes attracted more merchants, generating more revenue.
Smart.
Very. They even introduced standardized gold and silver coins, uniform weights and measures across the empire from India to Java. That reduced disputes, streamlined trade. Regional banks even popped up with Chola gold as the ultimate store of value.
Managing an empire split by thousands of miles of ocean sounds like a logistical nightmare, even now. How on earth did they pull off that level of administrative control?
Yeah, the administrative side is just fascinating. They had incredibly efficient communication networks, think fast, drona messenger boats light, swift vessels carrying coded messages on palm leaves, sealed and waterproof containers.
Coded messages.
Yeah. And they used signal stations across key islands, fire beacons at night, smoke signals by day. Critical info could travel between the mainland and faraway outposts in weeks, not months. Revolutionary for the time. Governance-wise, they installed local governors, adhikaris, but kept strong central control from Thanjavur. Through detailed protocols, rotating inspection tours, quarterly reports, kept the center informed.
And it wasn't just admin and military, right? There was a legal side to managing this huge maritime network.
Absolutely. They developed what's basically the world's first comprehensive maritime legal framework, a Chola maritime code. Covered everything. Port operations, customs, cargo insurance, salvage rights, piracy punishments, enforced by specialized maritime courts.
Wow.
And they had highly organized supply chains for their naval outposts, depots, inventory systems, even encouraging local production to reduce dependence on long shipments. It was just this incredibly intricate, organized system, allowed the empire to function across these vast distances.
So looking back across history, what's the takeaway? What does this ancient empire mean for us today? It casts a really long shadow, it seems.
Profound legacy, definitely. And you might wonder how deep that influence went. Culturally, it established exchange patterns still visible now. Think about it. Tamil inscriptions, Hindu-Buddhist temple architecture in places like Angkor Wat, Borobudur, clear South Indian influences, Tamil words embedded in Malay, Javanese, Khmer languages. But beyond culture, their approach to controlling sea lanes, strategic choke points, that directly inspired later European strategies in the same ocean. Modern ideas about force projection, sea lane control, you can trace elements back to these Indian innovations.
That's incredible. So are you saying Rajendra Chola basically created the template for future European maritime empires? That's a huge statement.
It is, but the evidence is compelling. When the Portuguese and Dutch came into the Indian Ocean centuries later, they followed remarkably similar patterns, targeted many of the same ports, recognized the same choke points, adopted similar admin structures, economic models extracting wealth through controlled trade. They learned, maybe by observation, maybe from the structures the Cholas left, that balancing military control with commercial cooperation was key for these water-based empires. The blueprint was there. So next time you think about our interconnected world or the history of global trade, just remember that a really sophisticated blueprint for oceanic power and prosperity was drawn up centuries ago, not in Europe, but right here by Rajendra Chola. His deep understanding of the seas as highways, not barriers. It truly changed the course of history. Laid foundations still relevant today.
If you decide to travel to India, we have a recommendation. 5 Senses Tours organizes tours across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@5sensestours.com. That's the numeral 5, SENSES tours.com, or WhatsApp to +919 8456 77446.